We're going to begin tonight, though, in Alberta, where a 32-year-old Grand Prairie man is facing more than a dozen charges following a string of alleged sexual offenses, and the victims are between the ages of 12 and 18 years old. And police say that some of the incidents occurred after the man had been released on bail. CBC's Michelle Gassoub has been looking into this one for us. Michelle, what do we know about these charges?
Yeah, 32-year-old Joseph Kidd facing a slew of charges against 4 separate alleged victims. It all began on April 17th when a 14-year-old girl from BC reported a sexual assault to the detachment. She said she met Kidd on social media, that he drove to her home, picked her up and took her to his house, where she was held for 1 week, was not allowed to leave, that she only escaped 7 days later after he eventually went to work. Now, in that case, he's facing charges of sexual assault, sexual interference, forceful confinement, assault while choking, and unsafe storage of a weapon. He was released on April 30th with conditions. Now, just 10 days later, May 10th, he allegedly drove to Lloydminster in Alberta and picked up an 18-year-old girl who she says she was allegedly assaulted by him after she refused to engage in sexual activity with him. He faces a number of charges in that case, including assault and sexual assault. In that case, he was released on bail with a $7,500 cash bail. Now, June 18th, 2.5 weeks later, a 15-year-old girl went to the Grand Prairie RCMP saying that Kidd had followed her around in his car, offered to give her alcohol if she got in the car with him. She eventually did get in the car and she was assaulted. Allegedly assaulted. That same day, the mother of a 12-year-old girl said that Kidd was attempting to lure her 12-year-old child in a yellow Chevrolet Camaro convertible. He faces charges related to that too, including abduction of a person under 14. So, Sarah, 4 separate victims coming forward, all very young with similar stories in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, and you did a nice job there of outlining the timeline of this. And what is clear from that timeline is that some of this alleged activity happened after Kidd was released on bail.
Yes, twice released on bail, only to allegedly re-offend. And Grand Prairie RCMP did address this in a press conference. Take a listen to some of that.
So there's 4 incidents in total. I can say that Kidd was on release conditions when some of the additional offenses occurred. We have 4 victims that have come forward. We do have open doors 24/7. And encourage people to come to the office or to report on phone or online. I think because of the specific circumstances in this, it is alarming to the public, and that is why we're bringing the information to your attention today to share publicly.
Now, Joseph Kidd will now remain in custody. He will stay there until his next court appearance on July 2nd. But, Sarah, this comes as the Liberal government recently introduced bail reform legislation earlier this month. More than 80 changes to the criminal code. So a very, very topical incident that has happened. This has been in discussion for many weeks and months.
Yeah, and it's going to continue to be a topic we are going to discuss. Michelle, thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
So more on that discussion. To help us break down this case, I'm joined now by James McLeod. He's a criminal defense lawyer based in Calgary. James, thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so they're very serious crimes. Can you walk us through how this individual could have been released from custody more than once?
Certainly. So when you look at the first sort of stint of allegations against him, when he was arrested for those charges, he would have proceeded to what's called a bail hearing or a show cause hearing. And on that first bail hearing, the onus to sort of demonstrate why he should be detained in custody really falls on the Crown prosecutor. And the Crown prosecutor has to demonstrate why he should be detained. But if the individual has no past criminal record, he has a good bail plan, someplace to go, a stable residence, then typically in cases even involving these very serious charges, we do see individuals released. And largely that's because of the presumption of innocence that we have in Canada. That is one of the foreground or bedrocks of our criminal justice system, but also every individual has a charter protected interest to not be denied reasonable bail without just cause. Additionally, one of the factors to consider on bail, particularly in cases like this, is the strength of the Crown's case against you. And sometimes these cases are difficult to to prove, and that can assist someone getting bail. So I certainly understand why he was released, particularly for the first allegation. Obviously, it creates a different situation when he is rearrested and put back into custody. And on that second bail hearing, then the onus for demonstrating why he should be released or why he should be detained sort of flips over to him. And the judge in that instance would really be considering, can this person give me a reason or show me cause why he can be released into the community without putting the public at risk? And if an individual can present a concrete bail plan that's going to limit his risk to the public, then a judge is entitled to release him, notwithstanding he's alleged to have committed other similar offenses even after his initial release.
James, I suspect there are going to be those who are hearing this, and there have long been critics who have argued that Canada's bail system is too lenient. What would you say to them, given these allegations that we're dealing with right now?
I think it's always an easy position to take to say that Canada's bail system is too lenient, largely because, where you see it go wrong or where you see extreme examples of what appears of it not working, those are the examples that people see often in the community. And obviously, this is an example where, it can be argued that the bail system did not work for this individual. But in the grand scheme of things, it has been working and it does work. There is requirements that are placed on both prosecutors and accused people to demonstrate why they should be released. And there's a judge that is considering that. And if obviously there is enough proof or enough evidence presented to demonstrate that they should be released into the community, then they should be, simply because the alternative to this is potentially detaining innocent people for extended period of times awaiting trial. So again, people in the community often see the extremes on the negative side of the bail system, where people are released and things go awry or they commit other offenses. But there's also an extreme on the other side in favor of more releases, which is you do not want to see an innocent person detained in custody in a provincial remand facility for extended periods of time.
So what about the chances that he could be released on bail a third time?
I think that his chances of getting released on bail a third time are incredibly slim. It would have to be a very, very concrete bail plan that would include extreme restrictions on his liberty, essentially being released from jail into his home under full house arrest with potentially electronic monitoring. And again, even with that, I don't suspect that would be sufficient to have him released into the community, because one of the main considerations on bail, particularly when you look at what's called the tertiary ground, is maintaining the public's respect within the administration of justice. And I think given the string of events and the string of allegations that have occurred here, I suspect that him getting released a third time is going to be incredibly difficult, if not impossible.
Yeah, there are new bail reforms, of course. The Liberal government is bringing them in. How would that have changed the situation, do you think?
Well, it would have changed the situation, particularly on his first arrest. So in regards to the first charges that he was facing, for example, I think the charges were sexual assault, sexual interference, assault by choking, and forcible confinement and unsafe storage of firearms. So when he would have been arrested the first time, when he went in for bail, in this instant, it was the Crown's onus to show why he should be detained in custody. So they would have to prove why he should be detained until trial. With the new bail reform laws, that onus is going to shift at this point going forward. Because he was charged with assault by choking, that creates a new reverse onus provision under the new legislation. So on that first arrest, he would have been required to give or show cause why he should be released as opposed to the prosecutor. I suspect that depending on what his criminal record was, what his past history was, he still likely would have been able to show cause why he should have been released on that first arrest. But then when you got to the second allegation, it probably would have been much more difficult to get released. But still, if he was able to demonstrate a concrete bail plan, then a justice would be entitled to release him. And looking at the plan that he presented, I believe it was a significant cash deposit that he made. It could have been that he still would have been released from custody. So when you look at the bail reform laws and what they would have changed in this case, really it would have changed the onus on that first arrest based on the first allegations.
Well, James, as Michelle said, this is certainly a topic that gets a lot of discussion, and it's a great concern to many watching, and not the least of which would be the families of these 4 alleged victims. So I appreciate you walking us through with such detail there. That's James McLeod, a criminal defense lawyer based in Calgary. Thank you.
Thank you very much.